Brentford taking a rather big risk with the appointment of Keith Andrews as their new boss, replacing Thomas Frank. This was gently dripped out by Brentford throughout last week and all properly confirmed and announced at 4:05 on a Friday. You can tell me what you think about that particular timing for the announcement, but it means this is the first chance really I've had to talk about it with the weekend and whatnot getting in the way. So straight away, it's going to be a fascinating debate, this one, on the decision to put Andrews in and which road do Brentford go down now. Do things get better? Do things carry on exactly as they are? Or, with this appointment and a few other things that we'll talk about, is there going to be trouble ahead for Brentford? The first thing to say is I'm sure you've all been kind of smiling at the reporting of this because every single headline, set piece coach Keith Andrews, everyone's gone really big on the fact that Andrews came into Brentford to do the set pieces. And again, with the benefit of hindsight, in about 6 months' time, we'll either be saying, oh, Brentford, they're so smart, aren't they? They brought this guy in just to get him in the door to be the set piece guy. You know, that was the role they had for him. And now they've put him through into the manager's job, and that was so clever, wasn't it? And well done, Brentford, again. Or are people going to be saying, what did Brentford expect when they promoted their set-piece coach to be their head coach? I don't know. It's a little bit unfair. I've just watched the club interviews, and I've got to admit, one of my rules is never judge too much on managers talking in press conferences or particularly in pre-recorded club media after just being hired. They will sell you the dream and tell you exactly what you want to hear. And we're normally sat there lapping it all up, aren't we? But Andrews did point out that he's been a coach for a long, long time, going back to doing the youngsters at Blackburn. And his journey, I mean, look, it could be the cleverest thing in the world if, from a career point of view, he said, I want to go into Brentford. It's a great club. It's a big opportunity. And if the only way I'm going in is set-piece coach, I'm going in. And if that was the case and he's now top dog there, then fair play to him. So I think I'll start by saying it is an objective fact that Brentford have promoted their set-piece coach. But of course, the reporting on that, and we all do it, don't we? I do it with my YouTube titles and whatnot. You find the juiciest bit and that will, potentially be a stick to beat Andrews and Brentford with if this doesn't go well. So, why are people concerned or turning their nose up? Well, I think I've answered the set-piece coach thing, which is a bit of a storm in the teacup and, will either be ignored or not. I think the other side of it is that Thomas Frank had been in for 7 years. So even if you did get a manager who'd managed 150 games up in the Premier League and was, seemingly a, quote, safe pair of hands, there's still a risk when you get A, a manager who's been there for a long time, and B, a kind of trend up with the idea of punching above weight. And Brentford have been absolutely superb under Thomas Frank, haven't they, for the longest time? So that's not necessarily even a Keith Andrews thing. I think that's a whoever they put in, there was going to be that kind of discussion. Thomas Frank has also taken performance analysts and coaches with him. And obviously Keith Andrews is now not in the position he was. So I listened to the sporting director or whatever the job title is, Phil Giles, saying that they do still, after Andrews' promotion, they do still need to make another 4 hires to their staff. So that's a big change. Plus, on the pitch, it looks like Norgard, has he gone? Or is he going to Arsenal? He's an experienced head in central midfield. Good age, presumably in the leadership group, as we like to call them in modern football terminology. And Brian Mbeumo, who scored loads of goals for them. So you've got this, it could be a perfect storm of club punching above their weight, trending up, long-term manager leaving, staff being replaced, inexperienced manager going in, and players kind of leaving at the same time. So there's all of those factors as well. But here comes the big but. If this was any club other than Brentford, I think the argument I'm about to make wouldn't even be a consideration. But they've just been so bloody smart over so many years, haven't they? And look, I don't believe that what worked once will just work forever. Life doesn't work like that. Else we'd all be millionaires just doing what everybody else had done and being very successful with it. You've got to pivot and learn, and the world changes and you have to change. And Phil Giles mentioned that, Thomas Frank was already in the building and working, and he just picked up what Dean Smith was doing, evolved it, and away we go. Obviously, alongside brilliant work from the recruitment guys and Matthew Benham and the data arm of all of it in terms of the ownership, and it's just superbly run, wasn't it? So there was a sense that they wanted to do what they'd done before, and he suggested as well they did speak to external candidates. So it wasn't just a case of, right, this is what we do. We have someone who knows the players, who knows the tactics, who knows the club, and we just slide them on up the ladder and in they go. So there's that. And there's the fact that just nobody has traded better than Brentford right up through the EFL. I always remember going to Brentford once and sitting down, and the woman next to me recognised me from YouTube, and we started chatting, and subs warming up, and she said, keep an eye on this one, Ben. And this was Saeed Ben Rama about to warm up, and I'm like, oh yeah, whatever, Algerian lad who is Algerian, I think Ben Rama wasn't coming for a lot of money, and she was dead right. And yet again, Brentford bought someone in for a few million, sold him for 5x, 6x. God, what's Brian Burmo going to be? 10x, 12x? He was 5 million quid even in the Championship. And David Raya, the keeper, went, and I really thought Ivan Toney, that is the talisman. He was incredible for Brentford, this massive, charismatic, world's best penalty taker, leader on the pitch, played with a great swagger. No, none of it mattered. But as much as I can't sit here and say, just because you did something once, it'll always work. Therefore, I also can't say that just because Brentford have always got it right means that they're going to continue to get it right. Nobody has a winning streak forever and ever. And as much as shock horror, I try not to read the YouTube comments when I get watching videos. I did scroll down a couple under Keith Andrews, and there was a Swansea fan in there. And I thought, that's interesting, because that is a good comparison. Everybody remembers Swansea and Brendan Rodgers and Michael Laudrup, and they were the best at recruiting, and they played the tiki-taka football. They won a trophy as well, didn't they, under Laudrup? And everything was lovely, and it was, it's kind of Brentford-like, wasn't it? Probably even similar size in terms of the stadiums and everything. And I've got it in front of me, 11th, 9th, 12th, 8th, 12th, 15th, 18th. So they didn't massively just fall off a cliff, which kind of bodes well for Brentford, doesn't it? But, things can end. Clubs can have runs. And you can look back, and what if we're saying about Swansea? That was it. That was the peak. That was a generational or bi-generational or a 100-year peak for Swansea. And could this be a 100-year peak for Brentford? Could Brentford have peaked already? And it gets no better from here. And maybe the Swansea example is showing us that it won't be maybe that's reserved for clubs that aren't well run. And let me talk about the club I support, because Mick McCarthy was at Ipswich Town under admittedly horrible ownership. And you've got Brentford ownership, which is like amongst the best, and Marcus Evans at Ipswich, which is amongst the worst. But you took that manager who'd been there a long time, holding things together, and a few key players out, and I'm not suggesting that's going to happen to Brentford, but having covered the EFL for years and spoken plenty to Leeds and Burnley and Sunderland fans, they're all asking me, Ben, it's not about us staying up, it's who the hell would actually get relegated. Now we've got the 17 and the chasm seems bigger than ever. And, rightly or wrongly, the one name that comes up is Brentford for the reasons we're saying. Long-term manager leaving, staff need replacing, key players going, and a potential idea of a peak having been attained and what happens after a peak. Look up economics law, look up population law, just general number law. After a peak, we get a drop-off and potentially a trough. So, let me know your thoughts in the comments. I'm sure we'll get quite binary views here. On the one hand of, it's Brentford. Of course it's the right hire. They'll get it right. They'll probably go up 2 places. Where were they? 10th. Finish 8th next season or something. But we will get people who'll say, oh, no. Bloom's off the rose now. They are going to get relegated either this season or in the next couple of seasons. Let me know your thoughts down there in the comments on the risk. Every manager hires a risk, I get that. But the risk that Brentford are taking on Keith Andrews as the new boss. I guess the reason I didn't get to talk about this over the weekend was we put a lot of work into an interview with the great David Prutton, the anchorman for Sky Sports and the face of the EFL's coverage. And I would love if you would click up there and check it out. I think Keith Andrews might even get a mention in the segment about pundits.